Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartiya, and welcome to another special episode of TFiR Let's Talk. We are here at KubeCon CloudNativeCon in Detroit, and today we have with us Emile Vauge, founder and CEO of Traefik. Emile, it's great to have you on the show.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. We have, of course, covered Traefik Labs before, but since you are here, I think this is the first time you and I are talking. So I would love to know a bit about the history and the story of the company.
I have an engineering background and used to be a software developer. And a few years ago, in 2015, I created a project, Traefik Proxy, which I open sourced. It's a reverse proxy made for microservices and the cloud native era. And it got a huge success. And so I made the decision to found the company and just work full time on that. So here we are.
When you said huge success, what did you mean by huge success? Was it the adoption of open source technologies that you folks are creating, or was it the growth of customer base who are leveraging your commercial offerings?
No, yeah, I mean, at the beginning, of course, it was only traction and adoption, but years after years, we have built a commercial version, Traefik Enterprise. So it's built on top of the open source version. It comes with additional features around security, resiliency, and API management, and it has been adopted by a couple of customers, not a couple, but many customers since a few years. So yeah.
And we are here at KubeCon and CloudNativeCon. You also announced the general availability of Traefik Hub. Talk a bit about what is Traefik Hub.
So yeah, Traefik Hub is a global cloud-native networking platform, and the goal of it is to help our users to publish and secure containers to the edge instantly. And because we saw that with the explosion of cloud-native ecosystem, it is getting way more complex to handle multi-clustering and traffic management. And so we took the decision to help those users and those customers to just make it easier, right? And so yeah, this platform is here to help you publish containers in one click. That's the deal.
And when we talk about this, we don't just talk about multiple clusters in the same cloud. We talk about multiple cloud. We also talk about hybrid cloud. So talk a bit about the role of Traefik Hub in this, landscape.
Yeah, because we do think that no companies is deploying only one Kubernetes cluster. It doesn't make sense today, right? Most companies have dozens, hundreds, even thousands of clusters. And as you said, not within one region, one cloud. Usually it's kind of diverse and multi-region and complex. So that's also why we're thinking that Traefik Hub, which is kind of an umbrella on top of all those regions and clusters, would make sense. It's you need today a control plane, a global control plane, to handle the traffic management at the global scale. That's what we think.
Can you go a bit deeper into some of the features that you can talk about?
As I said, the big objective is to expose securely any containers in one click. To achieve that, you need to do a lot of stuff automatically. So to give you an idea, we set up DNS name automatically. We set up HTTPS, Let's Encrypt certificate automatically for you. We connect and discover all your services in your Kubernetes cluster or Docker environment. And all this is done automatically. So that's kind of magic, right? On top of that, you can have access to, you can add access control to any of your container. And what is cool is we use different strategy, but we also added with the latest release, OpenID Connect, for example, which is extremely convenient for companies to use. So today it's a pretty a complete product that you can use right away, and you have a free access, so you can try the product for free. And with the 1.0 GA release, you can unlock quotas, and with the paid version, but it's pretty cheap. It's only 109 euros a month. So yeah.
I do understand the importance of open source. That's what I've been covering it since day one of my journalism career. But I want to hear your thoughts. Why do you folks do open source? What value do you see by doing or releasing your projects into open source?
For many reasons, right? I mean, I used to be a software developer. I'm a strong believer in open source. It is, for many reasons, it is at the core of the cloud native revolution. The cloud native is here because it's based on open source. And if you want to build a sustainable product today, it has to be open source based. It is safer because it can be audited by anyone. It is better because you have a quick feedback loop with the community. So you know instantly what is good and what is wrong with your product. And also it is better because you can build a community, a strong community, and the community can help you build the product, and you have a faster product market fit. That's the beauty of open source. Of course, it has pros and cons. It's not entirely simple sometimes, but in general, it's clearly a lot of benefits. At least for the users, it's a no-brainer.
I mean, in this world that we live in, technologies are coming and going so quickly. We started talking about cloud native, and now we are seeing those in productions. But what are the next challenges? What are the next thing that you are looking at? What is next after cloud?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that the next big thing after cloud native, will be something that simplifies this, right? Because we are to a point where it's extremely complex. You have a huge choice, which is good. It's always better to have choice. But now you can also lose a lot of time with this complexity. So simplification will happen, obviously. And I don't know if edge will be the next big thing. I think it will be more making all those technology work together and being integrated, but also with a simplification, right? Because at some point you need to have access to the technology simply and avoid. You can't spend too much money learning too many technologies in the cloud native world. So, yeah, simplification is the next big thing, I think.
Here at KubeCon, we hear a lot about the complexity of cloud, complexity of Kubernetes, which is kind of becoming a pain point for a lot of folks. It's also becoming a cost factor, or sometimes it could be seen as a hindrance, roadblock. Can you talk a bit about how companies can quickly innovate and move faster without getting overwhelmed by this complexity?
I mean, the balance is not easy to set, right? Of course, you need more features, which brings more complexity, of course. But I think we reach a point where it is super costly to maintain this kind of infrastructure, and yes, features versus human cost is always a difficult choice. But at some point, we will need to have integration and automation of all those. That's the next thing.
Of course, here you announced Traefik Hub, but there are a lot of things that you folks are working on already. So talk a bit about what are the things that you folks are working on? What are the problems that you are looking at solving in this space? So talk a bit about what are the things in your pipeline. I mean, of course, whatever you can share at this point.
So we really want to focus on the global networking platform. We do think that the future, as you said, the future will see the networking at its core because the future will be distributed even more than today. Today is already distributed, but tomorrow will be even more distributed. And distributed means networking is extremely important, right? So we want to focus on that and build a global networking. So the next big iteration for Hub, we will focus on API mostly, and because that's what company wants, right? They want to be able to handle their API, to have an easy API management system, centralized, and Hub is the perfect candidate for that. So that's the next big thing for Hub early next year. And the second big project we have is Traefik 3.0. So it's the third major release of Traefik, so it's a big thing. And we plan to release this early next year. What is exciting with this release is that the community is a huge part of the new features. I mean, many interesting new features come from the community, and that's exactly what we want, right? We pushed really hard to involve people from the community to help build this product and make it even better. So that's the two big projects we have.
Now I want to talk a bit about KubeCon. What kind of energy you saw here at the event?
I mean, clearly it's one of the first big events since the COVID. And it's just great to talk to people again, to talk to the community again. So for us, it's a huge pleasure, and so far the welcome of the community is just as great as usual. So we are just super happy to be back again.
As you mentioned, COVID, of course, we are recovering from it. We are still wearing masks here. There's an ongoing war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. People are becoming concerned with cost because of the potential recession. Companies are laying a lot of employees. So talk a bit about how Traefik is helping companies become more cost effective, so they don't have to cut down on cost but become more cost effective, so whatever resources they have, they can allocate them in different areas and continue to grow and thrive.
So I think about two aspects here. The first one is obvious, cost reduction, which can be achieved with being more effective. And Traefik Labs provide solutions to automate and simplify all the networking aspects of your cloud-native platforms. Of course, it is clearly more efficient if you automate everything. So that's one aspect, right? Traefik Labs can help company being more effective in their infrastructure. And the second aspect is with COVID, we saw that distributed teams have a huge advantage, and companies that are, comfortable with distributed teams are clearly getting better. And distributed teams mean also distributed infrastructure, distributed platforms, and that's also exactly where Traefik Labs sits, right? We help company to be more distributed with their platforms and infrastructure and teams. And so that's also the second reason why Traefik Labs could be helpful in these difficult times.
Emile, thank you so much for taking time out today and talk about the company. And as usual, I would love to have a chat with you again. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure.